Alright, welcome back. You made it to the first video. In this first video, we're looking at data types. Before we even start creating our tables, we need to think about what data types are and how we're going to use them. So, databases are very good at looking at data in different ways. So information that goes into a computer, we can store it in different ways. And that kind of makes sense because, when we ask a computer to store information, we know that someone's name is not the same type of information as their date of birth, and how much money they earn every year is not the same type of information as their age or the way their name is spelled. So these are different types of information, and to store these different types of information we use what we call data types. So databases are good for this. So if we go to our database, I've just opened up a blank database, and you can see I just have it. As soon as you open a blank database, it creates your table. What we're going to do is we're going to switch to design view, and we're going to call our table TBL films. Did I spell that right? No, I didn't. Okay, and we're going to be creating a simple database on films. Reason being because the films table covers just about all of the data types that we were looking at earlier, which is a good way for us to start when building our table. So to start with, I'm going to create, it kind of gives it to us already. It gives us an ID column, and the ID column as this is a data type called auto number, which basically just increments a number for each individual record, and you'll see that in a second. You'll see as we go along. I'm going to change the field name to film ID. Then the next thing I'm going to add is name of film, and the data type for that we're going to leave a short text. We can give a description here as well, but I'm not going to do that right now. Name of film. Next we'll look at age rating. And age rating again is going to be short text. We'll look at release date. We will look at duration. We'll look at genre. We'll look at production company. We'll look at language. We'll look at rating, and we'll add budget. Okay, now if we look at each one, let's think about what kind of number they are, what kind of data they are. So the first one is already given to us, is auto number. It doesn't have to be, we can change that, but I'm going to leave it like that for now. Name of film. Well, we represent the name of a film using just text, so we'll leave it as short text. Age rating, again, generally we represent it with text. We could say numbers in the case of films being 12, 15 or 18, but since there are since we do also have classifications such as U, PG, etc., it makes sense that we leave it as text, because the text data type can represent numbers as well as characters, alphanumeric. Okay, release date. At this time we are going to make a change, because release date refers to a date. So the data type here should be date time. Okay, and we'll look at how to differentiate between date and time in just a moment. Again, duration is very similar in the sense that it's either a date or a time. So duration refers to how long a film lasts. Genre, this could be an example like comedy, action, or sci-fi. So again, we represent that using alphanumeric characters. It's just going to be text. Production company again is going to be text. companies like DreamWorks, Pixar, etc. Language, again, we'll refer to as text. Rating, this could be like a rating out of 10, for example. So we'll change this to number. And then lastly, the budget. This refers to money. So any data type that refers to money is currency. Now, as you can see, actually from the drop down, you can see that there are several other data types, but we're not going to use them. Okay. For now, this is probably all we're going to need. So if we go back to datasheet view by clicking on the view button, it's going to ask us to save. We say yes. Now, as you can see, all our field names are across the top. So now it will give us the opportunity to write some records in. So let's start by adding a record. As I start to type, the film ID, remember the data type was auto number. So it will automatically change to a 1, and then the second row will be a 2, then the third row will be a 3. And we can change that, but let's not for now. Okay, so let's go for a basic one. Let's go for name of film, and let's add Avatar, for example. Avatar, age rating for Avatar, I believe, was PG. The release date, 10th of the 12th, 2009. 10th/12/2009. Now notice how when inputting a date, I've used a /. When it comes to duration, I have to type it in the same way. So I can't type in 1 hour or 2 hours. I can't say 60 minutes. I can't write it down in that way. I have to type it in exactly the same way that you've seen it here. The only difference is, instead of using a /, we're going to use a colon to split the hours, the minutes, and the seconds. So Avatar was 2 hours and 42 minutes. So that would be 02:42 and 0 seconds. The genre, we'll say, was action, sci-fi. Let's go sci-fi. Production company, I think it was produced by language, English. Rating on IMDb was 7.2. Right, as you can see, it's rounded it down. It's rounded it to the nearest whole number, nearest integer. We'll fix that in just a moment. The budget, let's see, for this film was 23,700. So 23,700 onto 3. There. Oops. If it does that, it means that the column's not wide enough. So 23,700,000. Okay, right. Let's go and fix the error. I'm going to click on the save button so we can save the table as it is. If we click back on the view button and click back on design view, let's go to where it said rating. If you remember, it rounded it down to 7. So what we're going to look at is we're going to look here, and we're going to change that so that we'll change it from long integer to double, and decimal places, we'll change it to 2 decimal places. Or no, let's try 1 decimal place. Click on save, return back again, and we said 7.2. Let's try that again. 7.2. Yeah, this time it's not rounded it down. Perfect. Okay, so that's how we've created a basic table. And look, as I start typing the second one, you'll soon see that the new becomes a number 2. So the auto number changes from 1 to 2. Now the good thing about that is each record will have a unique identification. It will have a unique ID. In this case, the first one is number 1. The second one will be number 2. But the whole point of primary key, and I didn't mention at the beginning, but as you can see, there's a little key next to ID here. It doesn't have to be an auto number, by the way. It just has to be a unique reference. So every database should have one unique identifier on the table. It should be one piece of information that is unique to each record. So no two records have the same thing. So for example, Smith is a common surname. You may have lots of people with a surname Smith. So in a database with people's names in it, for example, a school database, lots of children may have the surname Smith. That can't be unique. That can't be our primary key, because more than one person could be called Smith, for example. More than one person could have the same date of birth. If it was that to be address, for example, you could have siblings from the same address. But in the case of an ID number, for example, a pupil ID, or maybe, in this case, a film ID, it will be a unique number that won't be shared with any other film in this case. So that's a quick look at how to create a table. As I said, let's quickly type in the second one just so you can see. Let's type in Guardians of the Galaxy. I'm not going to type the whole thing out. As you can see, the ID is turned to 2, and then I'll obviously fill in the rest. Okay, if you come over to the next video, we'll start looking at our next topic.